You gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and in this installment of Versus, we're going to be pitting the Godfather, Don Vito Corleone, against Scarface himself, Tony Montana.
But your business is a little dangerous.
We realize both men grew up in different time periods, but we're going to analyze their runs at the top under a certain set of criteria to see which gangster reigns supreme amidst the criminal underworld. This will entail a few spoilers. Who do you got? Let us know in the comments. Round 1. Physicality. Both of the men in this battle have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they're willing to get their hands dirty if the situation calls for violence. Vito Corleone tends to be thoughtful and measured when it comes to action, making moves that counts rather than posturing by confronting every questionable associate or street-level lowlife that's in his way. The murders of Dons Finucci and Chicho are certainly brutal, with the latter stemming from Corleone's mission of vengeance for the loss of his family. These are the exceptions rather than the rule, however, and occur when the future Godfather is still a young man. Tony Montana, conversely, is never able to reach old age, thanks to the dangerous and costly empire he builds for himself throughout the story of Scarface. In Tony's own words,
I come from a guard. I know that. I got no education. But that's okay. I know the street. And I'm making all the right connections.
those connections require Montana to be much more hands-on than Corleone, right from the beginning of the film, where he kills a former Cuban general at the request of local criminal Frank Lopez. Tony's rough and ruthless behavior is further exemplified during the infamous scene where one of his first jobs for Frank gets really bloody really fast.
Why don't you try sticking your head up your ass? See if it fits.
Montana has no qualms about laying someone out in the street, betraying Frank, and repelling forces sent by his ex-partner Alejandro Sosa at the end of the film.
Say hello to my little friend!
Tony wants the action, the glory, and the riches, and he's never afraid to get down in the muck to get it all done. Winner, Tony Montana 1, Vito Corleone 0. Round 2, Quotable Lines. The Godfather and its subsequent sequels contain many scenes that would go on to enter the cultural zeitgeist.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Many of these quotable lines are spoken by Vito Corleone, both in the first film and the flashbacks to Vito's youth in The Godfather Part 2.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Has been parodied to death by everything from mafia spoof comedies to animated features, such as Disney's Zootopia.
You come here unannounced on the day my daughter is to be married.
Well, actually, we were brought here against our will.
Additionally, the line,
Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me.
hammers home the fact that a friendship with the Godfather is a friendship for life and requires a certain tit for tat if that two-way street is going to endure. Tony Montana's famous lines betray an equally intriguing amount of his character. This duality of blood-boiling viciousness and humility for his poverty-stricken origins back home in Cuba.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one.
This is the mantra for Tony Montana. He has his own moral code, perverse as that may seem, although his drug abuse and resulting paranoia eventually dull this for Montana in the end. Elsewhere, his iconic fatalistic line near the end where he asks Sosa's invading goons to say hello to his little friend is surely passionate, but we actually prefer a more measured line that Tony says earlier in the film. Specifically, it's during an otherwise embarrassing dinner scene where Tony goes off the rails at his girlfriend Elvira, while assorted patrons look on in shock.
You want a kid?
Tell her where.
What kind of a father do you think you are?
Come on.
Drive him to school in the mornings?
He then turns on them and admonishes their staring, criticizing their view of him as a scapegoat, the bad guy.
You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
This speaks more to Tony's personal insecurities with his sudden rise to power, and it's a great moment for a character who's perhaps unfairly maligned as being one note.
You're not good. You just know how to hide.
Winner, Tony Montana 2, Vito Corleone, 0. Round 3. Empire. The Corleone Empire, like most gangster families, possesses two sides, the vice and the front. Vito Corleone had the foresight of establishing a lucrative, respected, and honest business for his front, the importing of olive oil.
God bless America. We gotta make a big business.
The Genco Pura Olive Oil Company eventually grows to become one of the nation's most successful importers of the product, allowing the Corleones to safely run their vice and racketeering operations relatively quietly. This is also due to the impressive amount of local and federal government officials on Corleone's payroll. It's also important to note that it's established early on during a family meeting with Tattaglia family member Virgil Sollozzo that Vito is reticent about getting into narcotics.
I have a lot of friends in politics. But they wouldn't be friendly very long if they knew my business was drugs instead of gambling, which they regard as a harmless vice. But drugs is a dirty business.
This isn't only due to fears that those government agents would stop looking the other way at his activity, but also a moral and ethical objection to drugs.
Because I believe this drug business is going to destroy us in the years to come.
Vito is a family man and dislikes the idea of selling drugs to children at any stage of the game. It's the refusal of Sollozzo that directly influences the attempted hit on Vito's life, but it speaks largely to the man's moral compass that he stuck to his convictions. Tony Montana's rise to power is equally impressive and occurs in a comparatively shorter amount of time.
You big shot friend better come up with something soon. I didn't come to the United States to break my back, mijo.
Hey, he's coming, okay?
It's actually staggering how quickly Tony rises up the ranks from triggerman to made man, to the point where his narcotics empire is pulling in upwards of $15 million a month.
It's to the land of opportunity.
Tony's moral compass is more than a bit grayer when it comes to the things he will and won't do in the name of upward mobility. There is a scene where Montana refuses to finish a car bomb hit when he discovers a wife and child have entered the vehicle.
You think I killed 2 kids and a woman? That! I don't need that shit in my life.
This offers a moment where we see slightly deeper into Tony as a person, but it's brief, and very soon we witness Montana instead assassinating his partner in the car.
I tell you, no kids!
Tony is flashy with his earnings too, and draws unnecessary attention to himself. He's eventually arrested for tax evasion, and this speaks of his inability to see the big picture by perhaps investing in smaller, dummy corporations with which to launder his funds. Tony Montana is ultimately his own worst enemy. Winner, Vito Corleone 1, Tony Montana 2. Round 4. Character Arc. If there was ever an organized crime story where the protagonist, for lack of a better phrase, wins, it's that of Vito Corleone. So many characters that make their way within the criminal underworld wind up staring at life through prison bars or down the barrel of a gun. Vito, to his credit, lives to a ripe old age and is able to watch his grandson grow. Granted, the scene where Corleone succumbs to a heart attack while playing with the boy is bittersweet, but we don't really mourn Vito's loss as much as we sort of admire how such a character was able to navigate morality in such a violent world. Make no mistake, Vito Corleone is a criminal who has done reprehensible things, but his character arc is also one that moves from the fire of youth into the more measured thoughtfulness of middle and old age.
On the souls of my grandchildren, that I will not be the one to break the peace we've made here today.
Vito learns from his mistakes and the tragedies that have surrounded his sons, while Tony Montana is a man destined to be destroyed by his same errors.
That's right. Lesson number 2, don't get high in your own supply. Because not everybody follows the rules, huh?
Tony is mentally and emotionally unstable. He's ill-equipped to deal with his sudden rise to power and eventually breaks one of his cardinal rules by getting high on his own supply. Montana's character arc is a rags to riches story, but also one of the American dream.
You short a couple of mil, I go on the street for you. I make a couple of moves. A mil here, a mil there. You got it.
Granted, this is all set up underneath a blanket of hard drugs and a violent lifestyle, but Tony dreams big, even if he ultimately telegraphs way too much of what he's thinking and what actions he plans to take. Compared to Vito, Tony Montana is just way too impulsive and as a result ends up just another casualty, face down in a pool of his own mistakes. Winner, Vito Corleone 2, Tony Montana 2.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Round 5. Cultural impact. What would happen if we had a fictional time machine, allowing for a meeting between Vito Corleone and Tony Montana?
What are you, nuts?
It's more than highly likely that Vito would still be the Don and Tony, at best, a capo amongst Vito's hierarchy.
I said that I would see because I heard that you were a serious man.
Perhaps Tony might attempt a coup of some sorts, but this would inevitably become discovered, thus costing Montana his life, and what we can only imagine would be a bloody affair by one of Corleone's soldiers or associates. This isn't meant to disparage Tony Montana as a one-note character, but more to underlie the purpose of his story.
You stay loyal in this business, you're gonna move up. You're gonna move up fast.
Scarface is meant to be a cautionary tale, not a handbook for success.
How would you know, bubblehead?
Tony Montana was powerful but reckless, eventually indulging in the paranoia that cost him his everything. Still, there's something glittery and glamorous about that sudden rise and fall that makes it impossible to look away. Tony is loud on all levels. He passionately shouts what he's thinking, dresses in suits with labels large enough to land an airplane, and indulges in enough of the white stuff to fuel the meme factory to this day. Conversely, there's something regal and equally cool about Vito Corleone. A certain aloofness that makes us wonder exactly what the man's thinking, because he never shows his hand.
Now, your new son-in-law, we give him something important.
Never. Give him a living, but never discuss the family business with him.
The two Godfather films also possess something of a more highbrow reputation than the gleeful exploitation that is Scarface and its hyper-80s excess. Both men remain iconic, certainly, but there's a reason why nearly every gangster picture since 1972 has owed a debt to Vito Corleone and The Godfather.
Well, my friend, are you ready to do me the service?
Winner, Vito Corleone 3, Tony Montana 2. Winner, Vito Corleone.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.